Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to celebrate the 80th anniversary of the Edmundite missions at Our Lady of Queen of Peace Catholic Church in Selma, Alabama. For 80 years, the Edmundite missions has faithfully served poor and underprivileged communities throughout the Deep South. The Edmundite missions is rooted in the gospel of Jesus Christ and focuses on providing food, clothing, and shelter to poor and marginalized children and families, young adults, and seniors of all faith traditions. While the Edmundite missions in Alabama is headquarters in Selma, their outreach area includes the Alabama counties of Butler, Dallas, Lowndes, Monroe, Perry, and Wilcox, as well as New Orleans, Louisiana. The inspiring story of the Edmundite missions began with a call to action when in 1936, Pope Pius XI appealed to the Society of St. Edmunds to go minister to the African Americans of the Deep South. The Edmundites responded by selecting two young priests, Father Casey and Father Perot, to take on the assignment. They wrote to the bishop, Thomas Tulin of Mobile, who invited them to set up a colored mission in Selma. When Fathers Casey and Perot arrived in Selma on July 6, 1937, they discovered thousands of people living in extreme poverty, similar to that of a third world country. In response, they began their outreach by conducting door-to-door evangelism to the Black community and building a small chapel, St. Elizabeth's Mission. Initially, they were met with skepticism by both the Black and white communities in Selma, but their services to the poor gradually won them the respect of both races. The work of the Edmundite missions helped to transform the communities of Alabama's rural Black Belt during some of the most turbulent times of race relations in American history. In the 1940s, the mission welcomed the Sisters of St. Joseph from Rochester, New York, who came to Selma to provide education and social ministry. The Sisters of St. Joseph started St. Elizabeth's School in 1941 and the Holy Infant Inn, a nursing home, in 1943. In 1944, the Edmundites purchased the Selma Good Samaritan Hospitals, a rundown infirmary for African Americans, and the sisters set out to transform that facility into a modern-day one. They established the Good Samaritan School of Nursing, the first medical training program for African American women in the area. And then, in 1947, Father Nelson Zyder launched the Don Bosco Boys Club, named after the patron saint of youth work. For the next 19 years, until 1966, the Don Bosco Boys Club helped hundreds of young Black youth prepare and win financial assistance needed to attend college. Father Zyder devoted countless hours and days to ensuring the success of every youth who came into the program. On a personal note, I can attest to the transformative power of the Don Bosco Boys Club. My dad, Andrew A. Sewell, and many of his close friends credit the support, love, and guidance of Father Zyder for changing the trajectory of their lives. My dad and many of his teammates received athletic scholarships to historically Black colleges, becoming the first generation of college graduates in that area. The club and its ministry helped to break the cycle of poverty for these African American boys, such that they became teachers, doctors, lawyers, and even priests. The Sewell family is forever indebted to the generous support and assistance the Edmundite mission has given the communities of Selma and throughout the Black Belt for over 80 years. The Edmundites found themselves the center of controversy during the 1960s, when they were the only whites in Selma who openly supported the voting rights movement. During the 1950s and 1960s, the mission and its priests and sisters worked with Selma's Black and white leaders, its business community, and its white ministers to open the lines of communication between the races. During the march from Selma to Montgomery, the Edmundites, led by Father Ouellette, played a very critical role. On March 7, 1965, the brutal confrontation at the Edmund Pettus Bridge caught the attention of the nation. Scores of wounded marchers poured into the emergency room at the Good Samaritan Hospital, where doctors, nurses, and sisters worked around the clock to address their medical needs. The Good Samaritan Hospital won national praise for its treatment of the victims of the infamous Bloody Sunday confrontation, including providing medical treatment, Mr. Speaker, to our beloved colleague, Congressman John Lewis. Father Ouellette left Selma in June of 1965 on the orders of the Archbishop of Mobile. When he left, he was given a standing ovation by his parishioners. The citizens of Selma and the surrounding Black Belt counties have come a long way since 1937. And I ask my colleagues to join me in celebrating the 80th anniversary of the Edmundite mission and in recognizing its many contributions. May the glory of the Edmundite's mission continue to grow and prosper for years to come. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.